The touch that changed the treaty. The air inside the United Earth Assembly chamber was thick with tension. The artificial gravity hummed low, the oxygen slightly enriched for comfort, yet no one dared to breathe too loudly. Across from Daniel, Rhea sat the most controversial figure in human history. Soraya Vela of the Ione Dominion, 8 feet tall if she straightened her back. Her silver-blue skin shimmered under the chamber lights like liquid mercury. Her long white hair flowed like mist, never quite resting, always moving, as though it had a life of its own. Her eyes were violet glowing faintly like twin nebulae. She was breathtaking and terrifying. Daniel, a linguist turned diplomatic interpreter, had been brought in at the last moment, an emergency replacement after the last ambassador fell mysteriously ill. Untrained in high-level politics, he was only meant to facilitate communication, nothing more. And yet, here he was, alone with her. The chamber's other occupants, military officials, scientists, politicians, had been dismissed by Soraya herself. She had invoked a rarely used clause in the Ione Protocol, one that demanded privacy for final sentiment analysis. Daniel didn't even know what that meant, but the way she was looking at him made his skin crawl. Not from fear, from something else. You speak plainly, she said, her voice like chimes swirling in a magnetic field. And your eyes do not lie as easily as your leaders. That makes you dangerous. Daniel swallowed. I'm not here to manipulate you. No, that's precisely why you're dangerous. She tilted her head. You're honest. A pause. Her gaze narrowed slightly, as though peering into something beyond him. Do you know, she said, in Ione culture, we do not lie. Our biology betrays deception. Every falsehood stains our skin. Daniel blinked. Your people's skin changes color when they lie. Color sent even gravity around our bodies. That is why we bred deception out of ourselves. But you, she studied him. You are, chaos, unpredictable, unbound. It both fascinates and terrifies us. She stepped closer. Daniel could feel the heat of her presence, like standing near a strange sun. Why did your people send me? She asked softly, almost to herself. A diplomat trained in persuasion, in chemical empathy and gesture control. But not, double quotes. Her eyes flickered. Not for this. Daniel took a careful step back. For what? Soraya didn't answer. Her breath quickened, her pupils dilated. Then, without warning, she stumbled forward and gripped his hand. The contact was electric. A surge of heat rippled up his arm like fire threading through his veins. His heart lurched. Her skin pulsed beneath his fingers, alive with strange energy. Let go, he gasped, but she held tighter, her nails digging into his palm. Her other hand clutched her stomach, and a sharp, pained sound escaped her lips. Alarms triggered in the hallway. Guards shouted. The door hissed open, but Soraya collapsed before they reached her, dragging Daniel down with her. The room flashed red. Medbots swarmed. Daniel sat dazed on the floor, staring at his hand where hers had gripped him. Faint violet patterns were etched into his skins, slowly fading, but real. What the hell just happened? He muttered. Hours later, he was still asking that question. He sat in a sterile observation chamber, surrounded by military personnel, biohazard techs, and a very stern-looking medical officer named Dr. Mirren Call. Across the glass divider, lay unconscious in a containment bed, surrounded by a web of scanning drones. Her skin was dimmer now, her glow flickering like a dying ember. Dr. Call was reviewing data on a floating display, her brow furrowed deeper than Daniel thought possible. You touched her, she said flatly. I didn't mean to, Daniel replied. She grabbed me. She initiated bioskin contact during a neurological surge. That's never happened before in recorded Ione human interactions. They're extremely sensitive to contamination risk. Daniel sat up. So what happened to her? Is she ... infected or something? Dr. Cole stared at the scan results. Said nothing. Dr. Shea looked at him, mouth tight. You don't understand, she said, her voice low. This doesn't make sense. There are Ione biological safeguards against hybridization. Their reproductive cycles are incompatible with humans, genetically and chemically. Hybridization. Daniel's stomach dropped. Wait, what are you talking about? She exhaled sharply, then tapped to control. The screen lit up with a 3D model of Soraya's body. her vital organs highlighted in various colors. At the center was a pulsing, flickering cluster of tissue that didn't match the surrounding anatomy. A tiny, rhythmic pulse in a womb that should not even exist in yoni physiology. "You're saying ... she's pregnant," he whispered. Dr. Cole didn't look at him. "We ran it 3 times. It's embryonic, but stable." And she paused, tapping the screen again. "The DNA scan shows human markers. Yours, specifically." Daniel stood, backing away. "No, that's impossible. I didn't. Nothing happened. I didn't do anything." Dr. Cole gave him a hard look. "You touched her during an active neurological surge. That may have triggered something we don't understand yet." Daniel gripped the back of the chair, breath unsteady. "Does she know?" he asked. "She's unconscious, but she will." The lights flickered. A voice came over the intercom. "Priority alert. Ioni vessel inbound. No communication. Arrival in 10 minutes. Daniel's blood ran cold. Down in the medical bay, eyes fluttered open. She looked straight at the ceiling for a moment, then slowly turned her head toward the one-way glass, where Daniel stood watching. She saw him and smiled, a tired, knowing smile, one that sent chills down his spine. Then, slowly, she mouthed 3 words. "It has begun." No human has ever done this before. Daniel Reyes didn't sleep that night. Not that he had the choice. 2 guards stood at his door, and a retinal tracker above the ceiling blinked every few seconds. They told him it was for his safety. He knew better. He sat in silence, his fingers tracing the fading violet markings on his palm where Soraya had touched him. They were nearly gone now, ghostly streaks under the skin, but he could still feel them, like a memory burned into his nerves. "She's pregnant," he whispered to himself for the 100th time. "With my child." Implausible, illogical, absurd. And yet true. Dr. Cole's scans didn't lie. The embryo wasn't just biologically compatible, it was developing at an abnormal rate. Advanced cellular structuring, multi-phase DNA strands, and within minutes of Soraya waking up, the scans showed new traits forming in the fetus that neither human nor Ioni genetics could explain. Something ... New. A knock on the door broke the silence. A young ensign stepped in, pale, nervous. "She's requesting you, alone." Daniel's breath hitched. "She asked for me. She won't speak to anyone else. She won't even eat." They led him down through a secured corridor to the private medical chamber. Every camera had been disabled. Armed personnel lined the walls outside, uneasy fingers hovering near stun guns, set to max. The door hissed open. Daniel stepped inside. Soraya was sitting up now. Her glow had returned, softer but steadier. She was draped in a white biocloth, her long hair flowing over her shoulders like strands of starlight. Her violet eyes locked onto him the moment he entered. The door sealed behind him. She studied him in silence. Then she spoke. "You're not what I expected." Daniel swallowed. "I wasn't meant to be here." She nodded. "That much is clear." A long silence stretched between them. Finally, Daniel spoke. "They said, ... you're pregnant. That it's mine. I know you, ... No. I felt the change," she said quietly, placing a hand on her belly. "The moment I touched you, it was like a command hidden in my blood was triggered." Daniel's brow furrowed. "What do you mean?" "My people have always manipulated genes. We shape ourselves, evolve through conscious will. But this ... She shook her head. "This was not conscious. It was engineered, planted long ago, in case such a scenario ever arose." "Wait." Daniel stepped forward. "You're saying your people planned this?" "No," she said coldly. "They planned me. A weapon, a diplomat, a last resort seduction tool for human negotiation." Daniel felt his stomach twist. "So this ... all of this was part of a mission." She looked up at him. Her expression softened. "I was sent to charm, manipulate, and if necessary, break you. To keep your leaders distracted while my people renegotiated the resource accords. But conception, that wasn't supposed to be possible. My body was locked, but something changed." She touched her stomach again. "You unlocked it." Daniel stared at her, breath shallow. "How?" Her eyes narrowed. "That's what terrifies me, because I don't think you know either." Later, back in the briefing chamber, chaos erupted. Daniel stood behind a glass wall while military leaders and xenobiologists argued in raised voices. Dr. Cole sat beside him, her expression unreadable. General Arden slammed his fist on the table. The embryo must be removed, contained, studied. This isn't a child, it's a biological threat. Dr. Cole stood. With all due respect, General, this isn't a bioweapon. It's a sentient hybrid. Its development suggests higher-order consciousness already forming. You terminate it, you risk igniting a political inferno. The Ioni don't even know what's happening. Arden barked. Their ship is circling the stratosphere without a word. That's not Pice, it's a threat. Daniel finally spoke. They know. Every head turned toward him. Soraya's voice echoed in his mind. It has begun. They sent her here with protocols they didn't expect a trigger, he said slowly. But now that it's happened, they're watching. And what do you think they'll do? Mr. Reyes, Arden sneered. Celebrate. Daniel hesitated, then answered, voice steady. I think they're scared. That night, Soraya requested to see him again. This time, no guards, no observers, just a sealed med-chamber, blanketed in white noise. She stood when he entered, arms folded, her glow dim but pulsing. I'm not staying here, she said calmly. Daniel blinked. What? They'll kill the child, or turn her into a lab rat. I will not let either happen. Daniel frowned. Where would you even go? Earth isn't exactly safe for off-world fugitives. She stepped closer. You will help me. You know the old Arctic outpost, the one your mentor built during the first contact years. Daniel nodded slowly. Alaska. Off the grid. She kept it running for emergencies. Soraya touched his arm gently this time. Take me there. Daniel hesitated. Why me? Her voice was a whisper now. Because I don't trust anyone else. They escaped at 3:41 a.m. A fake biohazard breach, a fire suppression shutdown, and 3 blind sectors in the security camera loop thanks to a program Daniel hadn't used in years. Soraya wore a human disguise suit projecting false skin tone, iris shift, and height compression. Daniel wheeled her out on a gurney, pretending to be a sedated victim of cross-species bacterial infection. By the time the base figured out what happened, they were already halfway to Anchorage in a stolen hovervan. Alaska welcomed them with cold silence. The sky above was thick with auroras, the solar winds streaking green fire across the dock. The old science outpost was still intact, buried under a hill of frost and disguised as a geothermal monitoring station. Dr. Mahira Chen, Daniel's former mentor, hadn't lived there in years, but her systems still hummed with passive warmth. Backup power kicked on. AI systems flickered to life. Daniel helped Soraya inside. She looked around, breathing deeply. This place feels untouched. It's safe, he said. But even as he said it, he knew they wouldn't be safe for long. The baby was growing faster now. Soraya slept for only 2 hours before waking in pain. Her skin was hot to the touch, and the bioscanner showed advanced fetal development, more than what should be possible in this time frame. The heartbeat was strong, but strange. Dual rhythms. Energy discharges. Daniel stared at the monitor. This isn't just accelerated development, he whispered. She's changing. Soraya sat upright, sweat glistening on her forehead. We need to know what they did to me. Daniel scoured Chen's archives for genetic records, digging through her old alien genome files. And then he found a project. Ilithia buried in a classified folder marked forbidden. Inside, a forgotten joint experiment between early Humanioni researchers, a theoretical attempt at creating a cross-species being that could survive quantum environments and act as a universal negotiator. The project had been terminated. Too dangerous, too unpredictable. The files ended with a warning. Never. Awaken the code. No species is ready for what comes next. Daniel looked up slowly. SERIR. They didn't just breed you for diplomacy. She stared back. You were designed to give birth to something new. Just as realization hit them, the base systems shrieked with a perimeter alert. A foreign energy signatrion in origin was descending rapidly through Earth's atmosphere. Daniel bolted to the console. Stealth ship. Small. Not a full warcraft, but fast. Soraya stood, bracing herself. They're here for her. Daniel clenched his jaw. Then we don't let them take her. Her species wants the baby dead. The outpost trembled as the Ioni stealth ship descended through the northern sky, its engine hum vibrating in Daniel's bones. Through the reinforced viewport he saw the ship's silhouette slice through the aurora, like a predator stalking under colored light. It wasn't massive, just large enough to carry a squad or two. But the Ioni didn't need size to kill. Inside the outpost, The AI core flickered with defensive warnings. Unidentified ship has entered Earth airspace. Cloaking signature, confirmed Ione. Defensive systems, disabled, no known countermeasures. Daniel turned to Soraya. We don't have weapons that can stop them. Soraya stood near the center console, one hand on her abdomen. Her silver blue skin was pale, her glow dimming slightly from strain. They won't fire. Not yet. They came to take you. They came to erase me. Her voice was steady, resigned. They'll justify it as containment. The child represents something their hierarchy has forbidden for centuries. That breaks the purity line. Daniel gritted his teeth. Then we hide. If we can't fight, we vanish. Soraya slowly shook her head. They can trace me through my skin's biosignal. My genetic resonance is logged across the Dominion's biograd. If they're close, they've already locked onto me. A sharp pain twisted her expression. She clutched her stomach again. Daniel helped her into the medcare as her body trembled and sensors flared to life around her abdomen. The baby's energy levels were rising and stable, even violent. Daniel stared at the data. What's happening to her? Soraya's breathing slowed. She knows. She senses danger. He looked at her. You mean the baby knows? She is ... awakening. The outpost AI voice chimed again. Exterior breach detected. Pressure. On lower maintenance hatch. Daniel bolted to the security display. One figure. Not two, not a squad. Just one Ione. Descending, they only sent one. He muttered. Soraya's eyes flashed. That means it's an executor. Daniel turned sharply. What's that? An elite. They don't negotiate. They don't threaten. They erase. He stared at the screen. The executor moved gracefully. No suit, no helmet. His skin was jet black, patterned with shifting sigils. Of red light. A living execution warrant. I need time, Soraya said. I need you to stall him. Daniel glanced at the door, then at her. How Soraya looked up with quiet intensity. You're human. They underestimate you. Use that. The maintenance hatch exploded inward. Smoke hissed through the metal as a figure stepped through the fog. Daniel stood at the end of the corridor, unarmed. The executor paused when he saw him. You are the progenitor, the Ione said, voice like liquid steel. Daniel nodded once. Daniel Reyes, the executor, tilted his head. You carry corruption in your blood. Funny, I was going to say the same to you. The executor stepped forward slowly. Where is the mother? She doesn't want to see you. It is not her choice. Her genetic sequence is Dominion property. Daniel clenched his fists. She's not property. She's a person. She's free. The executor didn't stop walking. Then she's also disposable. In a split second, Daniel grabbed the fire suppression lever on the wall and slammed it down. A blast of chemical foam erupted into the corridor, blocking the Ione's vision. He ran, back through the main corridor, slamming bulkhead doors behind him. Inside the medbay, Soraya was hovering literally 2 inches off the medical table. Her eyes were closed, her body arched, the air around her shimmering with unstable energy. The scanners had shut down entirely. The baby's pulse had become something else, a hum that resonated with the metal of the room. The lights above flickered, then burst. Daniel rushed in. He's coming, Soraya's voice echoed, deeper now, layered with strange harmonics. I cannot stop it. She's becoming aware of everything. Then we need to go now. Soraya's body dropped onto the bed. Her eyes shot open. There's no time. He's here. The door hissed. The executor stood in the entry, eyes glowing, a blade of light unfurling from his forearm. No. Sudden movements. Human. Daniel stepped in front of Soraya without thinking. You'll have to go through me. I plan to, the executor said, raising the blade. But before he could strike, the baby screamed. Not with sound but with energy. A pulse exploded from Soraya's abdomen, ripping through the room like a detonation of pure force. The executor was blasted backward into the wall. Sparks rained down from ruptured conduits. Daniel was thrown into the console, dazed but conscious. Soraya sat upright, eyes wide with fear and awe. She's protecting us, she whispered. The executor struggled to stand, blood thick and vile trickled from his nose. He looked stunned, then ... afraid. You should not have awakened it, he hissed. This violates the core protocols. Soraya stood slowly. Then maybe the protocols should die. The executor activated a cum crystal embedded in his wrist. This is Executor Velen. The hybrid exists. It is active. I request. He didn't finish. The baby screamed again. and this time, the walls themselves bent. Later, after the tremors stopped, they found Velen, unconscious outside the facility. His ship had been disabled, its core melted from the inside. Daniel and Soraya stood over him. "He'll wake up eventually," Daniel said. "Then we need to be gone before he does." They dragged him to the freezing bay and locked him in cryo. Soraya clutched her belly. "We have days, maybe less. Her power is growing, but so is the threat." Daniel nodded. "Then we need help. Using the outpost's remaining Daniel sent a coded signal to the only person who might still trust him, Dr. Mahira Chen. She responded within hours. A single phrase, "Coming north, bring answers." By the next day, the sky above the outpost was no longer peaceful. Satellites were moving. Earth Command had traced Daniel's location. So had the Ione. Everyone was coming now. Soraya stared out at the stars, her hand pressed to the glass. "She's dreaming," she said softly. Daniel looked up. "You can tell. I see flashes, visions, galaxies she's never visited, languages I've never spoken, emotions ... that aren't mine." Daniel was silent. "She's not just a child," Soraya whispered. "She's a doorway." He turned to her. "To what?" Soraya looked at him. "To something no species understands. The DNA code that shouldn't exist." Snow blanketed the outpost like a burial shroud, hiding the metal and secrets beneath. Above, the aurora shimmered with uneasy light, green turning red as military. Satellites began to reposition in low orbit. Somewhere out there, Earth Command was watching, and so were the Ione. Daniel's fingers flew across the console, encrypting outgoing transmissions and burning all logs. The outpost's defenses wouldn't hold against what was coming. But for now, they had hours, maybe less. Behind him, Soraya lay on the medical bed, her skin slick with sweat. Her body was changing again. The pregnancy was evolving beyond anything they understood. The scanners had given up days ago. She wasn't dying, but something inside her was being born too fast, too vast. Daniel glanced at the monitors. Still no sign of Mahira Chen. Then the alarm chimed softly. "Shuttle breach detected. Identity confirmed. Dr. Chen, Mahira, friendly." Daniel ran to the bay. Dr. Chen emerged from the shuttle with wind howling around her, dressed in cold-resistant armor and carrying 2 AI-linked cases. Her graying hair was tied back tight, and her as always sharp narrowed as she saw Daniel. "You brought a Dominion diplomat into my sanctuary," she growled. Daniel led her inside. "I didn't plan for any of this." She paused only a moment at the sight of Soraya. Then her eyes drifted to the monitors, the child's fluctuating energy, patterns, the bursts of light, the abnormal genetic markers. She slowly set down her case. "My God, you really did it." An hour later, the old lab was alive again. Dr. Chen's equipment scanned Soraya in totality, rebuilding the fetus's structure from the quantum layer up. What she found stunned even her. "This code, ... double quotes," she muttered, her voice trembling. "This shouldn't exist." Daniel leaned in. "Explain." Chen enlarged the DNA helix, rotating in the air. "Standard DNA has 2 strands, yours and hers, but there's a third sequence laced through both. Non-native, artificial, something grafted onto Soraya's bloodline generations ago." Soraya stirred. "They hid it from me. They hid it from everyone," Chen said grimly. "This wasn't just genetic matchmaking. This was a sleeper protocol, a weapon." Daniel asked. Chen shook her head slowly. "No, ... worse. A bridge." She highlighted the third strand. "This code was meant to unify 2 incompatible species, not just biologically, but neurologically, emotionally, spiritually, even. This child isn't just a blend, she's a translation." Daniel's breath caught. Of what? Chen stared at him. "Of whatever comes after us." Outside, storm winds picked up, but it wasn't weather. Sensors screamed as an Ione warship decloaked above the Arctic Circle. Soraya sat up in bed, gasping. "They're coming." The High Inquisitor herself. Chen turned pale. "They've invoked religious authority. That means extermination." Daniel moved to the console. "Can we evacuate?" "No," Chen said. "They'll disable anything that launches." Soraya gritted her teeth. "Then we face them." "You'll die," Chen snapped. "They won't speak. They'll cleanse the land and call it purification." Soraya stood on shaking legs. "I was bred to be persuasive. If there's even a shred of logic in them, I can use it." Daniel put his hand on her shoulder. not alone. An hour later, Soraya stood in the snow before the outpost, a silver cloak wrapped around her shoulders, her glow faint but steady. Daniel stood beside her. Behind them, Mahira Chen armed the perimeter with every defense she had left. Mines, jammers, failsafes. The warship lowered with silent menace. A single drop pod fell, crashing into the snow, and hissing steam from within stepped the High Inquisitor, a towering Ioni figure clad in living armor that shimmered like obsidian fire. Her eyes were voids, her presence ... suffocating. She looked at Soraya as if she were a bug crawling across sacred ground. "Viola," she said, "you have broken the covenant of the core. Your blood has become polluted. Your womb carries blasphemy." Daniel stepped forward. "It's not blasphemy, it's life." She looked at him with cold disgust. "You're the human, I'm the father." A flicker of disdain crossed her expression. "You are a mistake." "No," Soraya said, voice sharp. "You are. You who believe that purity leads to peace. But purity only leads to extinction." The Inquisitor raised a hand. "You will come with us. The child will be extracted, the DNA sequence erased." "No," Soraya whispered. The Inquisitor's eyes narrowed. "Then your death will serve as warning." She raised a hand, her palm pulsed with black light. Daniel lunged forward. "Soraya, get back." But Soraya didn't move. Her eyes closed, and from within her a shockwave burst. Physical, not even visible, but felt. Every molecule of snow paused every light dimmed, the wind froze. Time bent. The Inquisitor gasped, stepping backward, her hand trembling. "What ... is this?" she whispered. Soraya opened her eyes. "She's awake." The baby wasn't born yet, but she was present. Through her mother's body, her will pushed out, touched the minds of those nearby, including the Inquisitor. Visions flared across the snow. The past, the forgotten Ioni experiments, the council chambers that decided to plant the hybrid code in Soraya's lineand, then swore to never speak of it again. And the future, a child standing between stars, not one species, but many, not war but unity. The Inquisitor fell to her knees, her mind overloaded by the flood of truth. Soraya staggered. Daniel caught her. "She's almost ready," she whispered. "We don't have long." The warship above didn't attack. Instead, it drifted silently and then withdrew into orbit, leaving the sky open. The Inquisitor lay unconscious in the snow. Chen ran out moments later. "What happened?" "She saw," Daniel said. "What?" The baby wanted her to see. Chen scanned Soraya quickly. "She won't survive labor here. Her biology is collapsing from the strain." Daniel looked to the sky. "There's only one place left where we might make it in time." Chen frowned. "Where?" Daniel met her eyes. "Space, birth of the Forbidden One." The stars looked closer from orbit. Daniel floated weightless inside the old Earth-Eon joint research vessel, Seduce, retrofitted decades ago but still functional. It hadn't launched in over 10 years. Mahira Chen had reactivated its systems within hours. The Ioni had cleared a corridor for liftoff, honoring the child's demand for safe passage. The world below faded beneath clouds and aurora, and at the center of it all, in the ship's medbay, Soraya screamed. Her body convulsed on the padded zero-gravity birthing chamber. Her skin pulsed in deep hues of violet and silver. Her veins glowed as her internal biology rewrote itself for a birth never meant to occur. Chen floated beside her, tethered to the wall, sweat dripping from her brow as she adjusted the delivery systems. "She's destabilizing," Chen snapped. "Energy spikes every 30 seconds. I've never seen readings like this." Daniel gripped the edge of the chamber, trying to stay calm. "What do we do?" "Nothing," Soraya gasped. "We let ... her ... come." The lights flickered ... then dimmed ... then every system on the ship, every AI, every screen, every stabilizer went dead. A single pulse of soft, golden light filled the room, humming from Soraya's womb outward, and in that silence ... the child was born. She didn't cry. She glowed, hovering slightly above Soraya's chest. The infant opened her eyes, not violet, not blue, but a shifting prism of all colors at once. Daniel stared in stunned silence. She was ... beautiful, not in a human way, not in an alien way, but in a way that made the room feel warmer. Deeper realer. Her skin was soft silver with traces of earth-tone blush, her limbs small, her fingers unusually long. No hair, just a shimmering membrane like mist, gently rippling, even in zero gravity. The moment Daniel reached out, the child turned and looked directly at him and smiled, a voice small, perfect, and spoken not through sound but thought echoed in his mind. "You're the first one I ever knew," he gasped, trembling. "You can ... talk." The child blinked. "I can remember everything." Chen leaned in, scanning the child from a distance. "This isn't possible. Her neural development is off the charts. She's processing data at a rate we can't measure." Soraya, exhausted but conscious, looked up with tears in her eyes. "She's not a weapon. She's not a prophecy. She's just ... her." Daniel took the baby gently into his arms. She felt weightless, but real warm, as he held her close. A deep sense of peace settled into his chest, but it lasted only seconds, because a proximity alert flashed silently on the auxiliary screen. An incoming message untraceable. A hologram shimmered into view. A being appeared. Not Ione, not human, something else. Its form was fluid, fractal, a creature of shape and geometry, hard to look at for long. Its presence made Chen reel backward, and Daniel's ears ring. The message wasn't audio, it was imprinted. "The child has awakened, a beacon long buried. Others now know. Your quadrant is no longer isolated." Chen paled. That wasn't from the Ione. That wasn't from Earth Command. Daniel held the baby tighter. Who were they? Soraya's eyes fluttered open. "The architects, the ones who came before even the Dominion." Chen whispered. "They were myths." "No," Soraya said. "They're the ones who seeded the hybrid code. Ione leadership must have found their ruins, activated something they didn't understand, ... and buried it." Daniel looked at the child, and she triggered it, just by being born. The ship shuddered, not from impact, but from a sudden shift. In space itself, the stars outside twisted. Chen screamed, grabbing a panel. "Gravitational lensing. But there's no mass. Something's folding space. Without being here." Then a portal tore open before the ship like a wound in reality, and from it, a second vessel emerged. Black dot, smooth, silent, and alive. The child looked at it, and spoke again without words. "They want to see me." Hand gripped Daniel's wrist. "Don't let them take her." Daniel shook his head. "They said the quadrant isn't isolated anymore. If they're advanced enough to find her, they might not ask." A moment later, a beam of golden light scanned the ship and froze. Time. Daniel blinked. He was no longer in the med-bay. He stood in an endless space filled with soft white fog. Before him, a being tall and faceless, made of starlight and shadow. "Ah, the Father," it said, not in speech, but in feeling. Daniel nodded slowly. "I didn't ask for this. You were chosen by entropy, not fate." He took a step forward. "What do you want with her?" The being shifted slightly. "She is the first of what may come. We observe, we do not interfere." "Then why are you here?" "To offer a choice." The space shimmered. Daniel turned and saw two paths forming in the fog. One showed Earth, burning, wars erupting, species clashing over control of the child, Ione ships in orbit, human cities rioting, fear consuming everything. The other, ... a quiet cabin, mountains, trees, the child, older, laughing, a simple life, hidden, a secret never told. Daniel turned to the being. "You're saying, if we keep her visible, the galaxy will tear itself apart?" "Yes. But if you hide her, the future will wait." "Perhaps wiser." Time resumed. Daniel stood in the medbay again. Soraya was weak, her glow fading. Chen was silent. The child looked at Daniel. "I'm okay with either, but I'd rather stay with you." His eyes filled with tears. He turned to Soraya. "What do you want?" She smiled faintly. "A name?" Daniel nodded. He looked down at the child and whispered. That night, the black ship vanished into the stars without a word. Daniel, Soraya, Leora, and Chen returned to Earth cloaked, hidden, aided by an untraceable signal that erased their path. Earth Command never found them. The Ione government fractured. Soon after, the High Inquisitor vanished, and a new reformist council rose from within, calling for unity, not extermination. But no one ever mentioned the child. No one dared. The galaxy must never know. 15 years passed. The world forgot the name Soraya Veala. Earth Command wiped the incident from its archives, branding it Class Zatanal, internal containment. The Ione Dominion, shamed by their silence and secrecy, entered a century of cultural reform, and far from the noise, in a quiet valley hidden deep in the Canadian Rockies, a small home stood beneath the snow-laced pines. A single light burned, each night, casting warmth into the cold. Inside lived 3 people, 1 man, 1 woman, and 1 girl. Leora ran barefoot through the tall grass, her silver-blushed skin catching the late summer sun. Her laughter echoed like song. When she stopped to rest, wild birds gathered near her feet, unafraid. Even the wind bent gently around her. Daniel watched from the porch, older now, streaks of grey in his beard. He sipped his coffee and tried not to show the worry in his chest. She was getting stronger, faster, brighter, and people were noticing. 2 hikers last month, a drone last week, an unknown signal last night. They were careful, always careful, but hiding her was becoming impossible. Inside, Soraya rested on the couch, her breathing shallow. Her once glowing skin now held only a faint shimmer. She had aged faster than expected, too fast. Her biology, designed to resist integration with human DNA, had held on for as long as it could, but it was failing now. Chen, who visited once a year from her new home in Antarctica, confirmed it. Soraya's body was rejecting itself. No disease, just entropy. "She's tired," Chen had said during her last visit, "but she'll make it, until the girl is ready." Daniel sat beside Soraya and held her hand. "She's never going to be ready for this." Soraya smiled weakly. "That's because she's still human." That night, Leora stood beneath the stars with her father. She looked 15 tall, radiant, wise beyond years, but her mind felt older, like she carried fragments of voices from civilizations long gone. "Why can't I talk to them?" she asked. "The ones who came that day." Daniel sighed. "Because if they see you now, others might too, and the others won't understand you." Leora tilted her head. "But I'm not a secret. I'm a beginning." He put his hand on her shoulder. "Yes, you are. But sometimes beginnings take time." She looked at him quietly. "I saw her dream last night," she whispered. Daniel turned. "Your mother's?" Leora nodded. "She dreams of oceans, deep ones, filled with silence." He swallowed. "Is she leaving?" Leora blinked slowly. "She's not afraid." 3 days later, Soraya passed. There was no sound, no pain, just a final breath, a soft shimmer across her skin, and then stillness. Daniel and Leora buried her beneath the largest tree in the valley, the one where birds always sang louder. Leora didn't cry, but the wind did. For 3 days, the clouds did not move, animals went silent. The valley felt, paused, and then life moved again. Months passed. Daniel worked in the greenhouse. Leora read through Chen's old archive logs about Earth, the Oni, the architect's signals. Sometimes she asked questions he couldn't answer, but one day, something changed. A soft hum deep within her chest called her to the river at dawn. She followed it there. Floating above the water stood a projection, the same faceless being Daniel had seen all those years ago, only now it spoke to her. "It is time." She looked at it with calm certainty. "Time for what?" "For you to choose." The space around them shifted, folding into memories and possibilities. Leora saw herself traveling to distant stars, her presence healing fractured species. She saw wars paused, fears silenced by a glance, empires bending without violence. But she also saw darkness factions fighting to control her, humans turning her into a symbol, Ioni radicals calling her a betrayal, other galactic species, newly aware of her existence, wanting her power. One vision stood out, her father, alone, older, sitting in the same porch chair, waiting for someone who never came home. She turned back to the being. "I'm not ready," she said. "I still have a life to live." The being nodded. "Then we will wait," and it vanished. Later, she sat beside her father by the fire. She told him everything. He listened, and when she was done, he said only, "I'm proud of you." Years passed. Daniel grew old. Liora grew strange. She stopped aging around her 21st birthday. Her eyes changed hue each season. Her voice could mimic the wind, and animals followed her instinctively. She never got sick, never tired, but she stayed. Even when the stars called, even when the hidden messages whispered in her mind, she waited until the world, both worlds, was ready. Then, on a quiet morning, Daniel passed away in his sleep, smiling, and Leora stood over his grave, her long white cloak fluttering like her mother's hair once did. She closed her eyes, and spoke into the stars. "I'm ready now." That night, The skies opened, not with warships, not with fire, but with light, soft, gold light. The architects returned, but not to take her. They came to follow, and Leora stepped onto their ship alone, leaving behind a planet that would, in time, remember her name, but not too soon, because before legends are born, there must be peace. Epilogue. The girl who waited centuries later. Stories spread across distant galaxies of a woman who never aged, who spoke in truths, and who united warring races without lifting a weapon. She became known by many names, but on Earth, in one forgotten valley, etched into a smooth stone beneath an ancient tree, one name remained, Leora Reyes, the child of both worlds, and beneath it, 3 words: she chose us.